These cars weren't centerfolds. These cars weren't legends. And they sure as hell weren't built to impress your dad. But these cars, they moved fast. While the spotlight followed the usual suspects, these 1970s machines were out there doing damage. These are the 20 fastest muscle cars of the 1970s that are unknown. Number 20, 1971 AMC Hornet SC 360. The 1971 AMC Hornet SC 360 might be the most unexpected threat of the decade. AMC took their modest Hornet compact and gave it a serious attitude problem. They dropped a 360 cubic inch V8 under the hood, good for 285 horsepower and 390 pound-feet of torque. Add a 4-speed manual, a curb weight just over 3,000 pounds, and a 3.54 rear axle, and suddenly you had a factory street brawler. This thing hit 0 to 60 in about 6.3 seconds and ran the quarter mile in the mid-14s. Not bad for something that looked like it belonged in a supermarket parking lot. With the optional Go package, it added a Ram Air scoop, rally wheels, handling upgrades, and power front discs. Inside, nothing fancy, just bucket seats and business. It wasn't flashy. That's why people ignored it, until they lost to it. Only 784 were built, and AMC barely promoted it. They were too busy selling Javelins. But the SC360 was something else. It was proof that AMC, even with budget constraints, could still build a legit muscle car when they wanted to. And while AMC snuck one in through the side door, Chevy was giving the Chevelle SS one final chance to flex. Number 19, 1973 Chevrolet Chevelle SS 454 LS4. By 1973, muscle was dying. Insurance was brutal, gas prices were climbing, and emissions were choking every V8 in sight. But someone at Chevrolet still had fight in them, so they gave the Chevelle SS one last hit of big block glory. This time it was the LS4 454. Officially rated at 275 horsepower and 390 pound-feet of torque, the numbers were modest. But this was GM playing it safe. Dyno tests showed closer to 330 horsepower, and in the real world, it could hustle 0 to 60 in 6.4 seconds and a quarter mile in the 14 seconds. That's better than some earlier, more celebrated SS models. It didn't scream muscle. The 73 Chevelle had gone softer, rounder. But under the hood, it could still throw hands. Only around 250 were built with this configuration, making it one of the rarest Chevelle SS variants ever. This wasn't a hero car, it wasn't a collectible, it was a dying breath. And it had teeth. That's what made it so special. It didn't go quietly. It barked one last time. And speaking of bark, Mercury had something sleek, striped, and absolutely lethal waiting in the Eliminator. Number 18, 1970 Mercury Cougar Eliminator 428 CJ. The Mustang always stole the spotlight, but the 1970 Mercury Cougar Eliminator 428 CJ was the one actually taking names at the track. Mercury packed this street bruiser with a 428 cubic inch Cobra Jet V8, rated at 335 horsepower, but in reality putting out more than 400. With the drag pack, it added a 3.91 rear axle and engine tweaks that turned it into a low 13-second car. On the street, 0 to 60 took just 5.8 seconds. The quarter mile? Gone in 13.9. And unlike most muscle cars, the Cougar had refinement. It was quieter, smoother, and better built than its Ford sibling. But when the Eliminator package was added, spoilers, stripes, blacked-out grille, and bold colors, it turned into a full-on threat. Only 2,267 Eliminators were built in 1970, and only a fraction came with the 428 CJ and drag pack. That makes it insanely rare and ridiculously underrated. This wasn't just a fast Mercury. It was one of the fastest cars Ford offered that year, period. But because it wasn't wearing a pony badge, most people ignored it. And while the Eliminator prowled silently through American streets, Ford's wildest weapon was tearing up the tarmac 9,000 miles away. Number 17, 1971, Ford Falcon GTO Phase 3. Built for the Australian racing circuit, the 1971 Ford Falcon GTO Phase 3 never had a chance to go mainstream in America. But it should have, because it was faster than almost everything Detroit had to offer. Under the hood, a 351 Cleveland V8 tuned to a conservative 300 horsepower rating. The real number? Somewhere around 370. That gave it 0 to 60 times as low as 6.2 seconds and quarter-mile runs in the high 13s. It wasn't a muscle car pretending to be fast. It was fast, period. It had a close ratio 4-speed manual, racing suspension, oil cooler, and a rear wing for high-speed stability. It was built to win Bathurst, and it did. But what made it crazy was that it was still a full-size 4-door sedan. You could roast a Charger and still pick up groceries. Only 300 were built. Most stayed in Australia, but the lucky few that made it to the States are now unicorns. It wasn't American, but it earned its place in this list because muscle isn't about borders. It's about power. And speaking of power, Ford had something even more dangerous waiting back in Detroit. Number 16, 1970, Ford Torino GT 429 Cobra Jet. Everyone knows the Torino Cobra. But the Torino GT with the Cobra jet engine? That's where the real sleeper magic lived. In 1970, the GT trim could be optioned with the 429 Cobra Jet, 370 horsepower, 450 pound-feet of torque, and a 4-speed top-loader manual if you knew what to ask for. 0 to 60 came in under 6 seconds. The quarter mile? 13.8 flat. It wasn't just fast, it was furious. What made it special was the disguise. The Torino GT looked more refined, even luxurious compared to the flashier Cobra. It had hideaway headlights, clean body lines, and optional Magnum 500 wheels. Most people saw it and thought nice cruiser, but stomped the gas and it left them in disbelief. Inside, it had muscle car DNA. Bucket seats, console shifter, competition suspension. But outside, it played it cool. That's why it flew under the radar then, and why it still does today. It was the perfect balance of class and chaos. A true factory hot rod hiding behind Ford's full-size badge. It just didn't need to shout about it. Meanwhile, Dodge was done pretending to be subtle. They dipped into wild styling, slapped on some graphics, and built a muscle car that looked like a prank, until it smoked you. Number 15, 1974 Pontiac GTO 350. By 1974, the GTO name was fading fast. Insurance penalties, smog laws, and detuning had gutted most factory muscle. But Pontiac wasn't done, not yet. The final GTO of the original era was based on the compact Ventura. And while that upset some purists, the numbers tell a different story. Under the hood was a 350 cubic inch V8 with 200 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque. Not earth-shattering, but when paired with a 4-speed manual and a lightweight body, it could move. 0 to 60 in 7.2 seconds. Quarter mile? Low 15s. The real sleeper move was its size. The smaller platform made it more agile, more responsive, and quicker off the line than its bulkier predecessors. It also had unique bodywork, GTO badging, and an optional shaker hood scoop, if you knew how to spec it right. Most people didn't. Only about 7,000 were made. It wasn't advertised hard, and by then, the GTO mystique had cooled. But performance-wise, it could still embarrass bigger, louder cars. It just didn't need to shout about it. While Pontiac quietly bowed out of the muscle war, Dodge was about to unleash something that looked like a commuter, but punched like a champ. Number 14, 1976 Dodge Aspen RT 360. Nobody was asking for a muscle car with shag carpet and opera windows. But in 1976, Dodge gave us one anyway. The Aspen RT 360. It looked like a funky compact with stripes and decals. But under the hood, a 360 cubic inch V8 with a 4-barrel carb, 170 horsepower, and 280 pound-feet of torque. That doesn't sound wild until you realize how light the Aspen was. 0 to 60 in 7.1 seconds. Quarter mile in 15.4. That's quicker than most people expected from a car that shared showroom space with station wagons. The RT package added heavy-duty suspension, dual exhaust, power